everyone. So summer is now upon us. It's really, really exciting. And one of the first things I think of when I think of summer is tan, bronzy, glowy, awesome skin. My tanning is my favorite part of the summer. I just adore being out in the sun and getting that sun and with sunscreen, of course. But there's just something wonderful about that bronzed glow, don't you think? And today I've decided that I wanted to start a little summer series. It'll be like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different things. We'll see what I can come up with, but called the Beautifully Bronze series for this summer. And it'll have different things to do with getting a bronzed look, different products that I use during the summer, things like that. And the first thing I want to talk about today is bronzer, because now is the season, my friends, that we wear bronzer, and probably more heavily than normal. And I want to talk about 2 of my favorite ways to apply bronzer based on the look I am trying to achieve. So this is just going to be a quick and simple tutorial on 2 different ways that I apply bronzer. One I will actually apply, and the other one I will just go through the motions. But first, and probably the most traditional way to apply bronzer, is with a bigger brush. This is just a powder brush that I use. My bronzer brush is somewhere in the abyss of unorganized things behind me. So I've been using this brush, and I am going to be using the NARS Laguna bronzer, which I have actually figured out how to use. At first I thought it was too dark and it made me look kind of dirty, but I figured out the right amount for my skin, and now that I'm finally starting to warm up and go outside and get a little bit of color, this is working out a lot better for me. So, NARS Laguna bronzer and a big fluffy brush. Now, this is version number 1, which is kind of the all-over bronzed glow. And then what you do with this to get that is you just put the bronzer on the brush, tap off the excess, and you might have heard the 3E technique, where you start at your forehead and you just draw a 3. So it goes, you make like a C around your eye, right onto your cheek, and then you take it again and go right onto your chin. And what this does is essentially hits everywhere that the sun hits you naturally. So then you would take more bronzer and make the E or the 3, whichever side you weren't doing before, on the other side. And what it hits everything just really nice and kind of gives you an all over flush, because you can see this is a pretty big brush, and so it covers a whole lot of my skin. Yeah. And then I sometimes take a little bit extra and do just right down the center of my nose, and a little bit extra on my chin, because that's kind of where I stop. So it hits everything that normally gets the sun naturally, and I'll sometimes just kind of dust a little bit down here or dust a little bit on my chest to make sure everything kind of is in the same shade. Because what I notice sometimes is when you do your foundation and everything and then you put your bronzer on, sometimes you're a little darker up here than you are down here. So I just kind of warm up my chest as well to give myself that all over fancy fabulous glow. That is a technique I use sometimes, but technique number 2 is the one that I use almost every day, and that is the using your bronzer as a contouring technique. When you do this, it gives you more defined cheekbones, and it makes you look a little bit thinner as well, because you use the trick of the light and the trick of the makeup to shape your face in such a way where it thins out your cheeks, makes you look longer, slimmer, and just fantastic. So for this, I'm actually using the Bare Minerals Full Tapered Blush and Eye Brush, and this is just a smaller, more controlled brush size, if you can compare the sizes. Big powder brush, little itty bitty brush. It's almost like a flatter blush brush is what I'm using. And this just requires a slightly more precise application and less application. You cover less of your face using this contouring effect. And this is what I'm actually going to do. So you get the bronzer. Don't worry, don't try and take up too much right away. You can always make it darker. But the first thing you do is you make a fish face. And when you make a fish face, you can see your cheeks go in. See? Where it goes concave like that is where you want to put the bronzer. So you take it and go right where your fish face is. So if you can kind of see that defined line, yeah? And then what you do is you make it heaviest right in that spot and go all the way back up to your ears so it doesn't just come out of nowhere. And then once you've applied the actual line, you can blend it down and blend it up. And then you do that to the other side as well. Make your fish face. Draw a line. Went up a little too far? No. Blend it down and blend it up. So you don't have a completely harsh line, but there's clearly definition happening. And it might freak you out and look a little bit intense at first, but trust me, to the naked eye, they don't notice it. Oh my God, look at the heavy bronzer she put on her face. No, they will just see more defined cheekbones. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick to make this a little bit more defined. Give it a little bit more definition. Wow. In a minute. But, so you have the bronzer right on your cheeks here. And notice how when you covered it with this, it was this upper part of the cheek that got hit with the bronzer. With the contouring effect, it's the lower part of the cheek underneath the cheekbone that got hit. So you do that, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to take a little bit more bronzer, and you're going to do the very top of your head. Wow. This whole reverse thing is not working out for me. My image is reversed, so I'm kind of looking at a reversed image as I do it. It's really strange. But only the very top of your head, just to kind of give, you can see the definition. And this is where sun would naturally hit you, so it's not like out of the ordinary. And just make sure it links up with where you started. So all just right around the hairline, a really light little dose of bronzer. And then if you feel like sometimes you did too much, just blend it out with a fluffier brush. But that, you can see all of the definition. That gives me a little bit more pronounced cheekbones. And now if you put a little bit, I have a darker blush on that you can't see right now, but if you just put a little bit of blush on the apples of your cheeks and then use this quick tip that I'm going to show you. Quick tip for contouring. You have your cheekbones already contoured inward. The darker colors make things look inward. Now, the exact opposite type of color will bring things outwards, and that's what highlighter does. So, if you take a highlighter, I'm using the NARS Multiple Mini in Luxor. Luxor? That's how you pronounce it? Which is this sort of color. Let's swatch it. It's just a highlight, like it's a multiple, but I use it as just a highlighter. If you put it on where you want your cheeks to be most raised, which would be directly on or right above your cheekbones, that gives even more of a defined effect. So, start up here with the highlighter, and you blend that down. So the blush is blended, or the bronzer is blended up, the highlighter is blended down. And you have some bronzed, beautiful, and ready to go cheeks for your summer day. And that's all there is to it. It's a really easy, simple technique. This bronzer literally takes me like 20 seconds to do. Just swipe and blend, swipe and blend. Nicely contoured cheeks ready for the day. So this was video 1 of the Bronzed and Beautiful series. If you have any other suggestions of things that I can add to my Bronzed and Beautiful series, go ahead and leave a comment below. As always, don't forget to hit subscribe. Wow, I can't talk. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.